Counsel, is there anything that we need to address before we bring our jurors in?
No, Your Honor. I have my, I don't know what we call him, a ghost reader here instead of a ghost writer. So.
Sounds good. Emma, what were you going to ask me?
Oh, nothing. I was
Okay.
just letting you know the jurors.
Okay, thank you.
Now, do I have to go out in front of you? Oh, good.
Yeah. Noah.
Yeah, he can come up. You're welcome to be seated. Thank you. Thank you.
Looking at time.
Maybe the last 6 months or so.
Oh, okay.
Something like that.
Did you have to have a lot more staff when you moved into the new place?
Not any more than we had. I think we've added one extra person who Chris has been wanting to hire as a kind of a floater to help when things
Is Tracy still there?
Yes and no.
Oh,
She is. She took her retirement, but she's working for us part-time, and she works from home.
okay.
And
I
then
really liked her.
Tracy is just a
Oh,
sweetheart.
you tell her hi for me.
I will.
When
Yeah,
you
she
see her.
was. I love working with her and miss her a lot. She's no longer the office manager. She's helping out with accounting things. And
Oh, I never even knew her title. She was just such a nice gal.
yeah, she was our office manager and also did some other things with accounting.
She lives in Mesa, right?
She does, yeah.
It was a long ride every day.
Yeah. And our new office manager is named. I just lost it. I've got her last name. Her last name is so unusual.
Okay.
I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah.
Sorry. So.
You enjoy working with her too?
Yeah, she's done a good job. She came in probably 2 to 3 months. Well, she came in back in September and was kind of like on the job training with Tracy for the last 3 or 4 months that Tracy was there. So
Tracy was just kind of special.
she is.
Well, she was right next to your room.
Yeah, she's a great lady. Yeah, always liked her.
So I got to know her the best.
Yeah, she's very sweet. Have a lot of great staff at our love working with all of them.
All right, guys, have a good afternoon. Ready for them?
Yes.
Okay, he was just finishing up. We'll come.
Okay.
All rise. Okay. I forgot the clip.
Thank you. Please be seated. Let the record reflect the presence of our jurors, counsel, as well as Ms. Johansson. And sir, may we have your name, please?
Noah Alvarado.
All right. Thank you, sir. Please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Your Honor, does he also need to swear to accurately and truly read the transcript that we're going to be reading here?
And sir, do you swear that you are going to review this transcript, read it, and translate it accurately and truthfully to the best of your ability?
I do.
Thank you. Go ahead, counsel. Oh, yes. We had one housekeeping matter, counsel, before you start with the deposition.
Thank you.
We had a written juror question. And as we discussed at the break, the question reads as follows. We only saw 4 documents for commissions paid. $8,100 shown twice on Cheryl, $10,980 for Ashwood, $7,350 for Cinnabar, $8,400 Granada. Something is missing. Are we going to recall Ms. Johansson to address that?
We will. I was going to go ahead and take Noah first, and I've got that. As soon as we get Ms. Johansson back up, I will show the remaining exhibit on that.
Fantastic.
Thank you for paying attention.
Thank you. Counsel, you may proceed.
Thank you. All right. So Noah is here to help us read into the record Gary Johansson's deposition transcript testimony so you can hear what Gary Johansson said when he was deposed back in, I believe, November of 2018. Since he's no longer with us, we wanted to be able to read this in. And Mr. Alvarado is going to play the part of Gary Johansson this morning, and we will just read through this verbatim on selected passages for you to hear so you can hear his testimony as well. Noah, if you would turn to page 131, please. We're going to read, I'm going to begin reading from the previous page, the question, but if you'll stay on 131, and we'll be reading through verses through line 7. So page 130, line 25, this is, I believe, this is me speaking, and I say, right, but as far as selling the houses, what did he do to help sell them, the rental properties? Do you know?
Yes. He was we didn't. We found this out later, broker of the house.
Mr. Casavelli objects.
And we paid a commission. He came over to our place.
Thank you. And if we can switch over to page 133, please. On page 133, we'll be reading lines 10 through 12. The question is posed, what did either one of them do to your knowledge to help sell the properties?
They ran them. He managed them.
Thank you. Then on page 133, page 139, we'll begin looking at line 24, and we'll be reading through page 140, line 14. Question. And so how did they help you sell these properties? Did they put them up for sale for you?
Yes, they.
Did they help show the properties when prospective buyers came by?
Absolutely.
Did they help you with dealing with the title insurance company?
Yes.
Okay, when the properties were sold, did you pay them a commission? Mr. Casavelli objects.
They came over to our house one night and they said we haven't paid him. Well, we have never gotten a bill from them.
And then going a little bit further down on 140, we're going to read 17 through 24. And so, I'm sorry, that's you.
And so,
Mr. Casavelli objects.
We haven't. Then when they did come over, they said, well, we've got the bill together now.
Mr. Casavelli objects.
And we'll go from there, but you're not going to like the bill.
Flipping over to page 141, we'll be reading lines 1 through 7.
We've never
Miss Castelli objects.
got a bill from them. They wanted to charge us 6% sales.
Mr. Casavelli objects.
Sales price of those houses, and we were to pay it in one lump sum.
Okay, flipping over to page 149. This is line 7 through page 150, line 4. So, Mr. Johansson, in regards to the sale of the rental properties, you were stating something about paying some money to Nick and Nikki for assistance selling the properties. Do you remember that testimony?
Yes.
And do you remember if you paid them a commission for the sale of those rental properties?
We paid them on a commission basis something like $47,000.
And what was the total for all 7
Into,
properties?
yeah, it's all that may not be the exact amount, but it was $47,000 or thereabouts.
All right, and you said you paid them on a percentage basis. Do
Yes,
you remember what the percentage was?
6%.
Okay, and what was done for each property? And that was done for each property?
Yes.
Okay. And flipping over to page 152, starting with line 16 and going to 153, line 3. All right, did they keep accounting records for the rents that they, Mr. Casavelli objects? I continue with my question, collected from the rental properties.
Yes.
Did they have,
I don't know. I have to apologize. They were supposed to,
okay,
but we never got any.
Ms. Castelli objects.
We never got any income statements.
Thank you. Then 153, lines 16 through 19. The question, okay, after they collected the money, did they turn the rent proceeds over to you if there were any net proceeds left over?
No, we never got the proceeds from the rentals.
And going to page 157, please. We'll look at line 18 and we'll read through page 158, line 3. Question, the property that Nick and Nikki lived in, do you know the address to be 10124 West Ironwood Drive in Sun City?
Yes, we still own 10238 101. I can't remember that one. They're living in that house right now
Okay,
and have lived in it and haven't paid any rent. And we went to a meeting. No, we were in Minnesota and we came home and there was a discussion between Donna and Nikki, lively discussion, and
then down to page 158, lines, beginning with line 23 and reading through 159, line 22. Question, so did Nick and Nikki, to your knowledge, live at 10124 West Ironwood?
yes,
All right, and were they a tenant of yours
yes,
at that address?
yes.
All right,
We never received any rent, so I don't call them tenants or what?
okay.
Renters.
In this lawsuit, you've alleged that somehow they took title to the property that they live in. Did you ever sign over that property to them purposely?
We were in Minnesota, and Nick and Nikki were here taking care, managing the houses, and Nick made a statement, well, you can't sell that house to anyone because I own it for you already. I said, own it? We own it. And he said, no, you bought it with a quitclaim deed of $10. You think we're going to spend $170,000 to buy a house that's got a quitclaim deed? We didn't even know what a quitclaim deed was.
And then on to page 160, lines 8 through 15, please. Question, okay, did you ever intend to sign a deed giving 10124 West Ironwood Drive to Nick and Nikki?
No.
Okay,
I never signed a quitclaim deed in my life.
okay, thank you. Then page 167. We'll start with line 24 and read through page 168, line 19. The $127,000 that you claim in this lawsuit that we
Right?
took from you,
No.
and this is Nick speaking, by the way, my apologies. I'm now speaking as if Nick is the one posing the question. And you have no idea where you received $127,000?
No.
Mr. Easton, me, objects to form and foundation.
You went into the bank, Compass Bank with us, Nikki and Donna, and said, no. I said, well, no. We went into the bank and Nick said, well, now we've got the money. Now we got to find a place.
And Mr. Casavelli continues, who's Nick?
To hide it. What?
Who's Nick?
Your Nick.
And I stated this to you?
Yes.
Then to page 170, and we'll be looking at lines 3 through 5. The question posed by Nick, you had money to account, you had access to the funds in that account?
I assumed we were when we came out of there, you signed a power of attorney.
All right, and then over to page 1. $180, line 22 through page 181, line 3. Question posed by Mr. Casavelli. Who told you that you were being exploited? Ms. Castelli says, which neighbors?
If you would really like to know, all of the people from the church are aware of it, and it's been a humbling period. But I don't know. But people have said that I have been exploited.
Then that same page, 181, lines 15 through 18. Question. Do you feel you've been exploited, Mr. Johansson? Mr. Easton objects to form and foundation and states it's been asked and answered.
Yes.
And then page 183, lines 16 through 20. Question, did you state that you paid commissions for sales of your homes?
To Nick and Nikki.
Did you state it at a rate of 6%?
Yes.
And I think that's all, Your Honor.
May this witness be excused?
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
I'd like to call Donna back to the stand, please.
Thank you.
Donna, I'm going to have you look at Exhibit 1, JOH, Bates labeled JOH 00023.
Okay.
And looking here, is this a check from Garpton LLC?
Yes, it is.
And what's the date on that, please?
December 16, 2016.
And who's it made out to, please?
Nick Casavelli.
And how much?
$8,130.
And what does the memo section say it's for?
The house at 10330 West Sherrill.
All right. And is this one of the rental properties that was sold?
Yes.
And is this check paid as a commission payment for the sale of that property on Sherrill?
Yes.
All right. I think someone in the jury pointed out we were missing one of the checks, and I anticipate that is the one we're looking for. If not, please ask the question again. want to go back and just ask a couple finishing questions on some things we asked before in regards to the quitclaim deed.
Yes.
Just make sure we're clear. Did you ever, Donna, have any intention to sign over the 10124 West Ironwood House to Mr. Casavelli and Ms. Castelli?
No.
Did Gary ever have any intention that you know of to sign over the 10124 West Ironwood Drive house to Mr. Casavelli and Ms. Castelli?
No.
All right, thank you. And just to wrap up kind of a thought on this, I'm going to show you what's marked as Exhibit 119. May I approach?
Yes.
Can you take a look at that, please? And looking over that document, do you recognize your signature on that?
Yes, it's mine.
And can you state what that document is at the top?
Irrevocable assignment of claim.
Move to admit, Your Honor, Exhibit 119.
119 is admitted.
Let me show the jury, if I may.
Okay.
Thank you. Donna, again at the top, the title of this document is,
Irrevocable assignment of claim.
and down here we see two signatures. We see your signature, I believe,
Yes.
and the signature above it is whose?
Yes.
Whose signature is that?
Two signatures.
Who's the signature on top? What's the name?
Gary.
Gary, your husband? All right. And what is this document purporting to do?
Pardon me?
What is this document stating to us?
For received value effective August 31st, 2017, we, Gary and Donna Johansson, trustees of the Johansson Family Trust, December 31st, 1999, assigned to Gary and Donna herein called assigning any right, title, or interest of it for claims against Nicholas Casavelli and Nicolina Casavelli, arising out of those actions and interactions taken by the Casavellis which harm the trust and Garpton, and which are contemplated in a lawsuit to be filed in Maricopa County Superior Court.
All right. So is it your understanding that if any claims for what the Casavellis did to you, if it was done to Garpton, is it your understanding that Garpton is giving those claims to you personally so that you can bring those claims here in this court?
Yes.
And if any of those actions were done by your trust that's a member of Garpton, was that also being assigned to you and Gary individually so you could bring those claims here into court?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. I want to talk for a moment, I'm going to switch subject here a little bit, talk about the management of the rental properties. There's been some testimony already, I think by you, and we heard from Gary's transcript, that Nick and or Nikki and or their company were helping manage the rental properties that you and Gary owned either individually or through Garpton. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. As part of that, and so you believe that the defendants were acting as property managers, is that?
Yes.
Okay. And as part of that, did they help oversee the repairs to your rental properties?
Yes.
As part of that, did they assist with evictions of tenants who got behind on their rent?
Yes.
As part of that, did they prepare eviction paperwork?
Yes.
As part of that, did they advertise to get new renters in when an opening came up?
I assume that they did.
Did they also assist with advertising for buyers whenever you went to sell the properties?
I assume that too.
Did they collect rents through their company Aspire LLC?
Yes.
Did they arrange for repairs by others?
If necessary, they did.
Did they collect security deposits from tenants?
Yes.
Did they, or were they supposed to keep accounting records?
Yes.
Did they keep accounting records?
I don't know because I never saw any.
Okay. Would they interview prospective tenants as part of their management responsibilities?
Yes.
Would they draft lease agreements as part of their management responsibilities?
Yes.
Were they meeting with attorneys to help evict tenants if needed?
I don't really.
Don't
I don't know.
Okay. Would they conduct walkthroughs at the beginning and ending of a tenancy?
Yes.
Would they issue 5-day and 10-day notices if a tenant got behind on their payments?
Yes.
Would they keep you advised, keep you and Gary advised of what was going on with your tenants?
Yes.
Did they take photographic records of the properties as part of their management?
Yes.
Did they arrange for or perform maintenance themselves on the properties?
When they could.
Okay. In your mind, is there any doubt at all that they were acting as managers of your rental properties?
No, they were managers.
All right. You may have heard Mr. Casavelli state in his opening statement that they were not managers of the properties. Your testimony here today, does it disagree with his assertion?
Yes.
And does it disagree with his assertion because you see all the different functions he was doing?
Yes.
And all those different functions are the things that you understand a manager would do for rental properties?
I would assume that.
All right. Did Mr. Casavelli ever inform you that as a property manager, he needed to be licensed as a real estate agent?
No.
Did Ms. Castelli ever inform you that as being a manager of rental properties, she would need to be licensed as a real estate agent?
No, they just told me that they had overseen properties in Buckeye for some other person at one time.
Okay. I want to show you exhibit number 68. May I approach?
Yes.
Do you recognize this document as part of the documents we obtained in this litigation?
Yes.
What is this document? What's it state at the top?
It's the Arizona Register of Contractors complaint form for licensed and unlicensed contractors.
Does your husband's name appear on that first page of this document?
Yes, it does.
And does it appear that he is the one that is complaining?
Yes.
Move for admission of, I lost the exhibit number, 68.
68 is admitted.
Thank you. May I show that to the jury?
Just look at this. It's correct.
Thank you. So what the jury is looking at now is exhibit number 68. Donna, let's go through this. You mentioned it was an Arizona Registrar of Contractors complaint form. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
And here you mentioned that Gary T. Johansson was the one who was filing the complaint. Is that true?
That's true. But that's not our address.
Is that perhaps an address that may have been provided by Mr. Casavelli?
That's their address.
So this is like a post office box for them?
I understand it is.
Okay. And then over here, there's an email address given. Is that email address an email address belonging to Gary? Or is this an email address you recognize belongs to either Nick Casavelli or Nikki Castelli?
It must be Gary's because he had Gmail.
Mad Cat Media is
No. Madcap is Nick.
Okay, and that's what it looks like shows here. This looks like madcatmedia1@gmail.com.
Okay, if it's that, then that's Nick's.
Okay, so Nick's email address is being provided there. And then a report is being filed against a gentleman named Randy Moore here. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes.
And Randy Moore seems to be somebody who works for day and night, 24-hour service. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Attached to this is a typewritten portion that is showing here as page 2 of this particular exhibit. And at the very top, can you read line 1, please?
Nicholas Casabilly am preparing the statement on the owner's Gary T. Johansson behalf.
And can you read the next sentence,
Gary
please?
has hired me to be his property manager for all his properties, to manage and schedule maintenance or repairs on the homes as necessary.
So even though Mr. Casavelli represented in his opening argument that he was never a property manager to manage your properties, he is writing here in this particular section stating that he is in fact the property manager. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then as we look back, there's additional pages to this written statement. It's a lengthy statement. There's multiple pages here. We're not going to read through all of it. Just want the jury to see there's multiple pages here. And then at the end, it is typewritten in as being that the complaint is made in part by which 3 people here?
Gary T. Johansson, Nicolina Castelli, and Nicholas Casavelli.
Thank you. Going to be referring to exhibit number 43, Your Honor.
Thank you. Yes.
Exhibit number 43. See if you recognize that document. Is this a document that you've seen before in this litigation?
Yes, it is. I remember this one.
All right. And up at the very top, does it appear to have been, can you see at the very top of the document, there's some small print there? Does it show where it was sent from as a fax? Can you see that?
The address of Aspire?
Let me see if I can come and show you here. There's some documentation
Oh,
right
I
here.
didn't. Oh, from Wheaton, Minnesota.
So this looks like it was a document that was faxed from Wheaton, Minnesota. Does that happen to be where you vacation at?
Yes.
Yes? All right, so is this a document you're familiar with?
Yes, I've seen this document.
Move for admission of,
43. 43 is admitted.
let's show the jury what that looks like here. Donna, looking at Exhibit 43 here, when we talked about where it was sent from as a fax, were you looking at this document or this portion right here?
Yes, that's the local bank in town.
And do you actually bank at Star Bank?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And then what logo or letterhead, what logo is this letter on?
For Aspire.
And Aspire is the company that's owned by Nick Cassavelli and Nikki Costello? Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what's the title of the document?
New management notice,
All right. And then what is the date of the document there, please?
September 15th, 2015.
All right. And then can you read what the notice says there in the first paragraph?
Notice is to inform all tenants that the management of the leased premises has been transferred. Please remit checks to the name and address listed below. And the company is Aspire. The address is Post Office Box 351, Peoria, Arizona 85380. And then that's their telephone number.
And then what's this
email.
last couple of sentences say
All
here, please?
maintenance issues, rental payments, concerns, and any correspondence shall now be directed to the new management and not the owner of the property. Feel free to contact me with any questions or concerns you may have.
Is it your understanding that Mr. Cassavelli, either personally or through his company Aspire, sent a copy of this new management notice to each of your tenants?
I know that he did.
You know that he did. Very good. And does this admit again that he or his company are acting as property managers?
Yes.
And in regards to Nick, you already testified that he was not a licensed real estate agent. What about Aspire LLC? Are they licensed as a real estate agent or as a real estate broker?
I wouldn't know that.
Don't know. Has anybody ever informed you otherwise?
No.
Okay. So is it your belief that Nick and his company and Ms. Castelli were all operating to manage your rental properties?
That's correct.
All right. Did the defendants ever produce for you any kind of, I'm going to call it source documentation, to prove up what they had received in rents or what they had paid out of the rents to take care of the rental properties?
No.
And by source documentation, I mean, did they show you receipts or invoices or contracts, anything like that?
We never got any monthly statements at all. The only time I got any kind of statement from them is at tax time, and then it was, I don't know.
Okay. And now that you know that defendants were not licensed as property managers and not licensed to manage rental properties and not entitled to be compensated unless they were licensed, are you asking for the return of any and all compensation that they might have been paid or taken by them for managing your rental properties?
Yes.
Are you also asking for Mr. Cassavelli and Ms. Castelli to return all claimed compensation done for work done by them as unlicensed contractors done it? Well, let me move through all that question. Do you find that the evidence in this case that the defendants were causing the collected rents to be transferred from Aspire LLC accounts to their personal accounts?
I did not know that was happening.
But in this case, did you discover bank records that would show that?
Yes.
All right. And I'm going to be showing a number of exhibits now, so please bear with me. A lot of the reason we put this up here was to lay foundation and prepare you to look at these particular exhibits. So first of all, we're going to look at Exhibit 12. Exhibit 12, and we're going to look at Bates labels, page 795, 797, 799, and 801. And Donna, if you would take a look at this. And here, pull that off so you can see it better.
I could see it.
You see here a check, and what's the name on the check, please?
Snyder.
I'm sorry, the name of the person who wrote the check.
Joanne Snyder. That's from 10238.
So she was one of your tenants?
Yes.
All right, and it looks like is this an amount that she would be paying in monthly rent?
That was her monthly rent.
And who is the check made out to?
Aspire LLC.
All right, so you recognize that this is being paid to Aspire, which is controlled by the defendants. And the date on this check is March 1st of 2017, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, then looking over at page 797, we see here another check, also appears to be from Ms. Snyder, is that correct?
Yes.
And the date on that, please?
4117.
And the same amount of $11.50?
Yes.
All right. And then page 799, we show yet another check,
Yes.
and this one also from Joanne Schneider, is that correct?
Yes.
And in the same amount,
$1,150. Yes.
and paid to whom?
To Aspire.
All right, thank you. And then on page 801, Ms. Schneider is a very good paying tenant.
Yes.
And so we see,
They were lovely people.
and again, the check is made out to whom?
Aspire.
And the amount?
$1,150.
All right, thank you. Exhibit 13. I'm now pulling exhibit number 13. I'm going to show you some additional checks that were rent checks that were received. And let me pause on that a second. So when I showed you exhibit number 12 that we just looked at with all the payments received from Ms. Schneider, this is for an account ending in 3094. This is exhibit 12, and according to our chart over here, exhibit 12 is a company known as Aspire, and Aspire is a company that you've testified belongs to Nick and Nikki Casavelli. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. On exhibit 13 that we're looking at now, this is for an account ending in 5756. And according to our chart, exhibit 13 is another Aspire LLC account. So this is an account controlled by the defendants. And we're going to start looking at page JOH 52. And Ms. Schneider is coming up again. Do you see this being a check from Ms. Schneider?
That was their old address. Okay.
So-
they used their old checks
Okay,
because they lived at 10238 West Ironwood.
okay. And the date on this particular check is what?
10/19/15.
So that would be October 19th of 2015. And we saw that the new property management notice went out on September 15th of 2015. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So this appears, what's noted over here in the memo line for this particular check?
They had moving costs and they had a pet. They had a cat.
A pet deposit? Does it also maybe say November, December?
November and December rent.
So this check is in an amount of how much?
$2,500.
And so it's higher than what we've seen was their normal monthly rent of $11.50 because of the pet deposit and the first and last. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then we'll flip over to page 854. Here we're going to see, it looks like a money order of some sort. Can you see who this is made out to?
Aspire.
And can you see who the person's name that's paying
Patty
this?
Mercer.
Patty Mercer. And the amount she's paying in this check is how much?
$437.50.
All right. And then as we kind of scroll up a little bit, can we see that somebody signed the back of this check in order to negotiate it or deposit it? And can you see the name there?
Yes, Nick Casavelli.
Okay. So this check appears to have been deposited into the Aspire account. Did Miss Mercer sometimes break her payments up?
Yes, she was the lady I told. She was the one that lived at Cinnabar that took care of her mother and worked as a security guard.
So this $437.50 may not represent her entire rent?
No, it wasn't.
Okay. And then we're going to go to page 856. And we're going to look here and see who we have here.
That's the Ashwood House.
The Ashwood House. And who are the renters there?
Patricia Sheehan.
All right. And is she making a payment to whom?
Aspire LLC.
And how much is her payment?
$1,250 a month.
And is that an amount that sounds familiar to you?
Yes.
All right. And then the back of the check appears to be negotiated or endorsed, I should say. Can you see whose signature that is?
Nick Casavelli.
Thank you. Then we're going to go to page 858. And we see another money order style of check. Can you see who it's made out to there?
Aspire.
And can you see who the payee is?
With Hattie Mercer.
And the amount of this check?
$125.
Is this another partial payment towards her rent?
Yes.
And then as we look down here on the back side, do we see an endorsement? And if
Yeah.
so, whose name is that?
Nick Casavelli.
Thank you. Then going to page 860, showing you another money order. What is the amount of this?
$200.
And who's the payee on it? Or pardon me, the
Hattie
payor?
Mercer.
And who is it being paid to?
Aspire.
And what does it appear to be for?
Check deposit.
And is the backside endorsed?
Yes.
And whose name is that?
Nick Casavelli.
Thank you. Now I'm showing you Bates label page 86, JOH 861. Does this appear to be a money order?
Yes, it does.
And what's the amount of the money order?
$750.
And who's the person paying?
Hattie Mercer.
And who's it being paid to?
Aspire LLC.
And on the back side, is there an endorsement?
Nick Casavelli.
Thank you. And on this, we're showing JOH 863. Who's the person paying with this particular check?
Patricia Sheehan.
And who's it paid to?
Aspire LLC.
And how much is being paid?
$732.76.
And then who is the person receiving this check or endorsing this check?
Nick Casavelli.
Thank you. Again, we're showing you another check. Looks like another rent payment by Ms. Snyder. Is that her name up in the corner there?
Yes, it is.
And who's it made out to?
Aspire LLC.
And the amount of the check?
$1,150.
And the endorsement on the back, does that appear to be Mr. Casavelli's signature or Ms. Castelli's signature?
I don't know that signature.
Don't know that one? Okay. This is JOH 866. Do we see a cashier's check here?
Yes, I do.
And who does this appear to be from?
Peter Stuyvesant.
And
Peter Spur.
we went with Peter Spur. Okay. And is Mr. Spur one of the tenants of the
He
properties?
was at that time.
Okay. And what is the amount of his payment, please?
$875.
And who's it made out to?
Aspire.
And over here, do we see an endorsement?
Deposit only, and apparently that's Nick's writing. I don't know.
Okay, so it's deposit only, not sure about who signed it.
No.
Okay.
I've only seen his whole name. I've never seen him where he would write his initials.
Okay. want to show you another check. This is JOH 870. Is this a check from Ms. Schneider again?
Yes.
Also made out to Aspire?
Yes.
Also in the amount of $11.50 a month?
Yes.
And then endorsed down at the bottom, not with any signature, it looks like. Okay? This is JOH 872 that we're looking at now. Who's the payment person making the payment in this check?
Patricia Sheehan,
And the payment is going to whom?
Aspire LLC,
The amount is how much?
$1,250.
And it's endorsed with a deposit only, nobody's signature. Is that correct?
Yes.
Another check here. This is a check from whom?
Joanne Snyder,
And the date of the check is what?
12/1/16.
Made out to whom?
Aspire LLC,
In what amount?
$1,150.
All right, as we move it up here, we look at the endorsement page, and it looks like it just says deposit only to Aspire LLC. Is that correct?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Page 876, JOH 876. Who's the person who is writing this check?
Patricia Sheehan,
And the date of the check?
12/2/16,
For how much?
$1,250.
And who's it being paid to?
Aspire LLC,
And again, this is for rent. Is that your belief?
yes.
All right, and no handwritten endorsement on that one. This is JOH 878. Can you tell us who wrote this check, please?
Joanne Snyder,
And the date of the check?
1/1/17,
And who's it made out to?
Aspire LLC,
And the amount that's being paid?
$1,150.
And you believe this is for rent as well?
Joanne Snyder,
And it looks like it's just being deposited into Aspire LLC without any signature endorsement. Is that, do you agree?
I agree.
Showing you JOH 879. Who is this check from?
Patricia Sheehan,
And what's the date of the check?
1/2/3/2017,
And how much is it for?
$650.
Payable to whom?
Aspire LLC.
And again, this is one of your tenants, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
That's at Ashwood in Sun City West.
okay. Showing you JOH 881. Who's the person paying with this check?
Geraldine R. Slinger and James K. Slinger.
Do you recognize them as being one of your tenants?
Yes, they were, but I never met them.
Okay. And what's the date of this check?
January 23rd, 2017.
And how much there?
$320.
And what does the memo line say as far as what this check is for?
Ashwood rent.
Is Ashwood one of your properties?
Yes.
And then,
I didn't know some of these people because he was the property manager, and he always said it'd be better if you wouldn't get involved in it. So I didn't. So I didn't meet these people.
okay, but you knew who they were by name?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as exhibit number 17 and which has been admitted into evidence. There's the exhibit number. And then as we flip this over, we see that this is for a U.S. bank account ending in 2077. And as we look over at our chart, this is another account that's owned by Nicholas Casavelli, doing business as Aspire LLC. I hate to pull that apart. Let's see if I can do it this way. And again, we want to show the jury all the rent payments that came in so we know that they were actually collecting them. Okay? So here I'm going to show you, as part of this exhibit, page number JOH 1429. Are you able to see that, Donna?
Yes, I do.
And do you see a check there from Wells Fargo Bank?
Yes.
What's the date on it, please?
11/4/15.
And who's it made out to?
Aspire.
And how much is it made out for?
$875.
And do you recognize who that's from?
Ina Barrett.
And is she one of your tenants at one point?
She lived with Hattie. Lived with her, Hattie Mercer.
Okay.
And this is her mother.
And is this check endorsed on the back?
Yes, it is.
And whose signature is that, please?
Casavelli.
Okay. I'm showing you what's marked as JOH 1430. I'm showing you a check there. Who's this check from?
Terry and Laura Munson.
And what's the date on it, please?
11/1/15.
Who's it made out to?
Aspire LLC.
And for how much?
$850.
And do you recognize the Munsons as being one of your tenants?
Oh, yes. They lived in the house on 10325.
Okay. And the endorsement on the backside just simply says for deposit only, correct?
Yes.
All right. Then going through to JOH 1431, here is another, can't see what that is. It appears to be a check or a money order. Are you able to see who this check or money order is from?
Yes, it's from Roy Zelinga. We just called him Roy. I never know how to pronounce it.
Okay. Is he one of your tenants?
He's the one that lived in the house and bought it. That's the one that's the first house we sold in Tolleson.
Okay.
They lived in there a long time.
And can you see the date of this instrument?
10/28/2015.
And can you see the amount?
$813.
And was this paid in some fashion towards his rent?
Pardon?
Was this part of his rent payment? Okay. And looking at the next page, JOH 1432, we see another very similar instrument. Is this also from Mr.
Yes.
Ray
from
Zuni?
Roy.
From Roy? Okay. And this has an amount of $37. Is that correct?
I would assume. Yeah, I don't.
Could that have been a part payment of his rent?
I would imagine. I don't know. I
Okay.
can't say that for sure. I don't
Okay.
know what it is.
Looking at the next page is JOH 1433. We see here a cashier's check. Can you tell us who that's from?
Peter Sir.
Again, one of your tenants?
Yes.
And who's the check made out to?
Aspire LLC.
And the amount?
$875.
All right. And what does it say here in the memo section?
November rent, 10431 West Cinnabar.
Very good. And then is the back of the check endorsed for deposit only?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And then we want to go to page 1438. We're going to be looking at JOH 1438. Up in the upper left corner, can you tell who that check is from?
From the Munsons.
And who's it written out to?
Aspire LLC.
And can you see the amount of the check there?
$850.
And does the memo section tell us anything?
December rent.
All right. And looking at the back, there appears to be no endorsement. Is that correct?
Pardon me?
Is there any endorsement on the back of the check?
No.
Okay. 1439, JOH 1439. Can you tell us the amount of this check?
$500.
And can you tell us who it's made out to?
Aspire LLC.
And can you tell us who it might be from?
Roy.
And does not appear to be endorsed on the back. Next, we're looking at JOH 1440. The amount of this check is how much?
$350.
Who's it made out to?
Aspire LLC.
And who's the person remitting it?
Roy Zingler.
Again, one of your tenants?
Yep.
Okay. And then page 1441, we have, looks to be like a money order.
Yes.
And what's the amount of it?
$875.
Who's it made out to?
Aspire.
And what's the notation? Who's the person signing this?
Peter Spur.
Peter Spur. And does the notation section tell us what it's for?
December 15th rent.
Okay. And then flipping to page 1446, JOH 1446.
That was the renter on Cinnabon.
Okay, let's start with the name there. Is that,
On Cyril.
is the last name on that
Yeah, Barrett.
Barrett? Okay, is that one of your tenants?
Yeah.
All right, and what is the date of this check?
12/4/2015.
And the amount?
$874.25.
Okay. And does not appear to be endorsed other than as deposit only. Is that correct?
That's correct.
1451 is where we're going to go next, JOH 1451. Taking a look at this document, who's the person paying?
The Munsons.
To whom?
Aspire.
How much?
$850.
When?
1/2/2016.
And what does the memo section say?
Rent for January.
And a handwritten notation of deposit only on the backside. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Next, we'll look at JOH 1452. Who's this check from?
Joanne Snyder.
Payable to whom?
Aspire LLC.
How much?
$1,150
And the notation section says it's for,
for rent.
and again, just a deposit only notation on the back of the check. Is that correct?
That's correct.
JOH 1453. Who is this from?
Roy.
And what is the date of this particular?
1/5/2016.
Okay, and how much is it for?
$850.
Very good. And the backside just says deposit only as far as an
Yes.
endorsement, correct? Okay. Looking at page 1454, who is this check from?
Peter Spur.
Who's it made out to?
Aspire.
How much?
$875.
What's the notation section say?
Rent for January 2016.
Okay, we're flipping over to page JOH 1471. Who is this check from?
Joanne Snyder.
What's the date of it?
3/1/16.
How much?
$1,150.
All right, and the endorsement is simply deposit only on the back?
Yes.
Okay. Flipping to page JOH 1472, who is this check from?
The Munsons.
And who's it made out to?
Aspire LLC.
What's the date of it?
3/1/16.
And the amount?
$850.
And what does the notation
Rent for
section?
March.
Let me ask the question first.
Oh, okay.
You're getting ahead of me, but you're doing really good. You're just too quick. What does the notation section say there?
Rent for March.
Okay, and the endorsement just says simply deposit only.
Yes.
Looking at JOH 1473, this appears to be another rent check. Who's this from?
Patricia Sheehan.
And what's the date?
3/3/16.
And who's it paid to?
Aspire LLC,
The amount?
$1,250.
And the endorsement on the back just says simply deposit only. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Page 4, JOH 1474 appears to be from whom?
Trimroy.
Okay, and he's one of your tenants.
Yes, he was the one on Granada.
And what's the date of this instrument?
3/1/2016.
And how much?
$850.
All right, and appears to have no other endorsement other than deposit only. Is that correct?
Yes.
Page 1475. We have a money order, it looks like. Who's it payable to?
Aspire LLC,
How much?
$875.
Who from?
Petersburg.
And the notation line says it's for what?
March rent.
Okay. Next, we're jumping to JOH 1481. If you take a look at this one, up in the upper left-hand corner, who does this check appear to be from?
It's from Hattie.
Hattie Mercer. And what's the date, please?
4/3/2016.
And the amount?
$875.
All right. 1483. JOH 1483 appears to be another rent check. Who is this from?
Joanne Snyder.
How much? How much is it for?
$1,150.
And what's the date on it?
I think it's 4/1/16.
And who is it payable to?
Aspire LLC.
Okay, thank you. Page 1484. Who does this appear to be from?
Patricia Sheehan.
And is it payable to whom?
Aspire LLC.
On what date?
4/1/16.
How much?
$1,250.
And again, this is one of your tenants, and this appears to be a rent check, correct? Next page, JOH 1485. Who is this check from?
Petersburg.
And who is it payable to?
Aspire LLC.
And what's the date of the check?
3/30/2016.
And what's the amount of the check?
$875.
And what's noted in the memo section?
Rent for April 2016.
Thank you. Looking at JOH 1490, who does this check appear to be from?
The Munsons, Terry and Laura.
And who is it payable to?
Aspire LLC.
And what's the date of the check?
4/1/16.
And how much?
$850.
And what is in the note in the memo section?
Rent for April.
Thank you. Next, we're looking at JOH 1497. Who does this check appear to be from?
Hattie Mercer.
And what's the date, please?
5/3/2016.
And how much is the check for?
$875.
And who is it payable to?
Aspire LLC.
Thank you. Next, we're showing a check that appears to be another rental check. Who does this appear to be from?
It's Patricia Sheehan.
And who's the check made out to?
Aspire LLC.
And what's the amount of the check?
$1,250.
And what's the date of the check?
5/3/2016.
Thank you. JOH 1500 shows another check. Who does this check appear to be from?
Joanne Snyder.
What's the date of the check?
5/1/16.
Who's it payable to?
Aspire.
And the amount?
$1,150.
And again, she's one of your tenants, correct?
Yes.
Then page 15, JOH 1501. Who does this check appear to be from?
Terry and Laura Munson.
What's the date of the check?
5/1/16.
Who's it made out to?
Aspire LLC.
How much is it for?
$850.
And what does the memo section say it's for?
Rent for May.
Okay. This is JOH 1502. This appears to be a money order. Who does it appear to be payable to?
Aspire LLC,
And how much?
$850.
And who does it appear to be from?
Primroy.
Okay, and again, he's one of your tenants, correct?
Yes.
Looking at page JOH 1503, another check. Who does this check appear to be from?
Petersburg,
Who is it payable to?
Aspire LLC,
How much is it for?
$875.
And the memo section says it's for what?
For rent, May 2016.
Okay. And then we come to JOH 1510. Take a look at that if you would, please. Who does this check appear to be from?
Addie Mercer,
And who's it payable to?
Aspire LLC,
How much is it for?
$875.
And the date of the check?
6/3/2016.
Okay. And then we're looking at JOH 1512. Looks like we have a money order of some sort here. What's the amount of the money order?
$350.
And who is it payable to?
Aspire
And who does it appear to be from?
Primroy.
And does this appear to be a partial payment of his rent?
Yes.
Okay. Next is JOH 1513. This appears to be a check in what
That's
amount?
The rest of the rent money for that
Okay.
month,
How much is that for?
$500.
Who's it payable to?
Aspire LLC,
And who's the tenant?
Roy.
Okay. Page JOH 1514. Who does this check appear to be from?
Joanne Snyder,
And what's the date of the check?
6/1/16.
Who's it from? Or who's it made out to?
Aspire LLC,
And what amount?
$1,150.
Thank you. And next page, JOH 1515. We have another check appearing. Who does this check appear to be from?
Patricia Sheehan,
And who's it made out to?
Aspire LLC,
For how much?
$1,250.
And what's the date on it?
6/3/16.
Thank you. Then we're at JOH 1516. We see another check. Who does this appear to be from?
Petersburg,
Made out to whom?
Aspire LLC,
And what's the amount?
$875.
And what does the memo section state it's for?
Rent for June 2016.
Skipping over to JOH 1520. At JOH 1520, we have another check. Who is this from?
Hattie Mercer,
What's the date of the check?
7/2/2016.
For how much?
$875.
And payable to whom?
Aspire LLC.
Again, this is one of your tenants, correct?
That's right.
Looking at JOH 1522, another check appears. Who does this appear to be from?
Joanne Snyder,
What's the date of the check?
7/1/16.
The amount of the check?
$1,150.
Made out to whom?
Aspire LLC.
Thank you. Page JOH 1523. Actually, let's skip 1523. Let's go to 1526. 1524. I'm sorry. Looking at page JOH 1524, looks like we have a money order. Who's it made out to?
Aspire LLC.
For how much?
$875.
The memo section says it's for what?
Rent for July 2016.
And who is it from?
Petersburg.
Again, one of your tenants, correct? Looking at JOH 1526, we have another check appearing. Who is this from?
From Patricia Sheehan.
What's the date of the check?
7/7/16.
What's the amount of the check?
$1,250.
And who's it made out to?
Aspire LLC.
Thank you. Looking at JOH 1529, who does this check appear to be from?
Hattie Mercer,
What's the date of the check?
8/3/2016,
What's the amount of the check?
$875.
And who is it payable to?
Aspire LLC.
Thank you. Looking at JOH 1531, we have another check. Who is this from?
Joanne Snyder,
Who's it made out to?
Aspire LLC,
For how much?
$1,150.
And what's the date of the check?
8/1/16.
Then we're going to flip over to JOH 1533. It appears to be another cashier's check. Who is this from, please?
Petersburg,
Who's it made out to?
Aspire LLC,
What's the date of the check?
8/3/2016,
And how much is it for?
$890. Rent for August.
And that's in the memo section? It says rent for August? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Then looking at page JOH 1535, we see another check there. Who's it from?
Patricia Sheehan,
What's the date?
August 6th,
How much is it for?
2016, $1,250.
All right, thank you. And is it endorsed on the backside?
Yes, Nick Casabilly, deposit only.
Thank you. Looking at page JOH 1538, another check appears. Who is this from, please?
Patricia Sheehan,
To whom?
Aspire LLC,
How much is it for?
$1,250.
And the date?
8/3/17.
Skipping over to JOH 1540, we see another check. Who is this from, please?
Hattie Mercer,
How much is it for?
$875.
What is the date of the check?
9/3/2016.
Who is it payable to?
Aspire LLC.
Thank you. Just flipping over to page 15, JOH 1544. This appears to also be a very similar check to the one you just looked at. Who's the payor on this?
Hattie Mercer,
What's the date of this check?
10/3/2016.
How much is it for?
$875.
And who is it made out to?
Aspire LLC.
Okay, we're almost done with this exhibit. JOH 1546 we're looking at now. Who's the person paying with this check?
Hattie Mercer,
Payable to whom?
Aspire LLC.
And how much for?
$875.
And the date on the check?
11/3/2016.
And looking at JOH 1548, who is this check from?
Hattie Mercer,
And what's the date of the check?
12/3/2016.
For how much?
$875.
And payable to whom?
Aspire LLC.
Thank you. Looking at JOH 1550, same questions. Who's the person paying on this check?
Hattie Mercer,
On what date?
1/3/2017.
And for how much?
$875.
And payable to whom?
Aspire LLC.
Thank you. Looking at JOH 1552, can you tell us who this is from?
Hattie Mercer,
For how much?
$875.
Payable to whom?
Aspire LLC.
And what date?
2/4/2017.
Thank you. Looking at JOH 1554, another check. Who is this from?
Joanne Snyder,
Payable to whom?
Aspire LLC.
For how much?
$1,150.
On what date?
2/1/17.
Thank you. And looking at JOH 1557, Can you tell us who that's from?
Hattie Mercer,
And what's the date?
3/3/2017,
And how much is it for?
$875.
Payable to whom?
Aspire LLC.
And finally, JOH 1561. Who's this check from?
Joanne Snyder,
Payable to whom?
Aspire LLC,
For how much?
$1,150.
And what's the date of the check?
6/1/17.
Thank you. Bet you're glad that fun was over. So what we just looked at then, Donna, were a series of rent checks that were collected by Aspire from your tenants, correct?
Correct.
All those checks and amounts that we looked at, you can verify those were your tenants in your properties?
Yes.
All right. And those were all being deposited into the Aspire account controlled by the defendants. Is that true?
That's true.
All right. So next I want to look at exhibit number 5. And we're going to look at page JOH 1420. All right. On this particular document, we show a series of transfers happening. And if we go back up to the top, we'll see this is from a statement that ended on December 31st of 2015. And this is for, an account controlled by the Casavellis. This is their 7834 account, which is up here should be up here as exhibit number 5. And what we see coming in are a series of transfers down here. And I'll just try and zoom in a little bit. We see a series of online banking transfers coming into their personal account from an account ending in 5756. 5756, according to our chart over there, is Exhibit 13, which says it's an Aspire account. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So all these transfers are coming into the Casavelli's personal account. Let's look at those transfers. Do you see on there a transfer of on 10/30 of 2015 for $500?
Yes, I do.
Do you also see a transfer for $475?
I do.
Do you also see a transfer of $750?
Yes.
Do you also see a transfer of $50?
Yes.
All total, that adds up to around $1,600 to $1,700. It's just a little bit shy of the 1,800. Well, I'm sorry, it's a little bit shy of the 1,800 shown down here because we have to deduct out the $25 right here, correct? So this is perhaps $1,775 that's being transferred from the Aspire account. And when you reviewed the Aspire account, did you see any other income, any other rental income being collected by the defendants through their Aspire account for other people who owned rental properties?
No.
So the only money that you found going into the Aspire accounts was rental monies from your properties, correct?
Right.
And so we see here that they are funneling those away into their personal account. Is that what we see?
That's what it shows.
And have they ever explained why they did this or what it was for?
Can you explain that a little better to me?
What this shows is a transfer coming from account ending in 5756. 5756
It's Aspire.
is Aspire at Exhibit 13. And this account that it's ending up in is an account that is listed as exhibit number 5 up there, which is an account owned by Nicholas Casavelli and Nicolina Castelli.
Okay.
Okay? So they're taking money from Aspire and they're putting it in their personal accounts. Do you agree that's what this shows?
Yes.
Okay. Now we're going to look at Exhibit 6. Exhibit 6 has been admitted into evidence, and it's listed up on our chart. This is an account ending in 8091, and it's an account owned by Nicholas Casavelli and Nicolina Castelli. And specifically, we're going to look at page JOH 483. And as we look at this account, we see an online banking transfer happening here from an account ending in 5756. 5756 is an Aspire account. That's Exhibit 13. And that money from that Aspire account, $500, is being transferred into this particular account, which is Exhibit 6, an account owned by Mr. and Mrs. Casavelli. Is that what that shows? Do you agree that's what that shows, Donna?
Yes, it says $500.
Okay. Then we're going to look in the same account at page number JOH 497. And in page JOH 497, if I have it right. Up here at the top where my finger is, we show another online banking transfer from account 5756, which is an Aspire account, coming into this account ending in 8091, which belongs to the Casavellis, for another $510. Do you see that?
Yes, I see that.
Okay. And that appears to be coming from the account where the monies are being collected for the rents from your properties, correct?
I guess so.
Okay. Then looking at page JOH 504, we want to look in a couple places here. Here it lists another online banking transfer from account ending in 5756 for $320. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then as we scroll down the page a little bit here, we see a transfer from account 6430. 6430 is their account, so that one doesn't have to be counted. That's just them moving money between their accounts. All right, now we're looking at Exhibit 7, which has already been marked and admitted into evidence. This is account 6430. Over here we look at account 6430 under Exhibit 7, and we see it belongs to Nicholas Casavelli and Nicolina Castelli. And as we look at JOH, page JOH 584, looking here, we see an online banking transfer to account 8091. 584. $8091. Okay, I don't think this one counts. All right, on page JOH 587, we see an online banking transfer from, whoops, let me do this, from account ending in 5756 of $1,000. 5756 is an Aspire account, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Then on JOH 591, we show those don't matter. All right. On page JOH 603, we show some incoming monies. We show an online banking transfer from account 5756 for how much?
$7,417.49.
Now, this is coming in from the Aspire account. And this one is actually fairly interesting in terms of the timing. Do you remember the date that supposedly Aspire was being sold to you? Do you remember that to be about January 10th of 2017?
I don't remember the date.
All right. Would you disagree with me for any reason that
Yes, I would.
you wouldn't disagree with me, or you would?
I would not disagree with you.
Okay. And so looking up at the top here, this is an account that, a statement for the account from January 8th to February 2nd.
Oh, right there it is.
Here is money coming into their account from the Aspire transaction, right here. And then look what they do the very next day after they get all this money from you, right here. Look how much they take out of the Aspire account that's collecting rents for your property on January 11th of 2017. Did they ever explain to you, or do you have any knowledge about why they would be entitled to take out $7,417.49 of your rent money? Can you say that a little louder? No? Okay. Your Honor, if the jury needs a break a little bit sooner, just because this has been tedious, I'm open to that.
All right, thank you. We'll take our 15-minute afternoon break. Thank you. Please remember the admonition. We'll see you back in 15 minutes, and that would be at 2:50.
All rise.
Thank you. Please be seated. Let the record reflect the jurors are excused. We are in the presence of counsel as well as Mr. Hanson. Counsel, is there anything that we need to address at this time?
Thank you for the early break.
Sure, absolutely no problem at all.
I was getting really tired there. So, No, nothing I need to do with Your Honor.
Okay, all righty, thank you. All right, then we'll go off the record.